Good afternoon and welcome to the Happy Half Hour. I'm Leigh Kubin, Master Certified Life Coach and Weight Loss Coach.
I'm Sandra Priestley. I'm a leadership coach for female entrepreneurs and I'm a feng shui practitioner. Hi, happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday. How are you?
I am doing well. It has been a healing week, I would call it, where you uncover all of this icky stuff that you want to run away from, but you don't, because you want to heal it,
you do.
to move on. Well, I always want to, but I'm like choosing not to. I'm choosing to be a badass today.
Yes.
And I'm choosing to face it this last few weeks. So it's been transformational. My very first business was called Transformational Design. So it's been transformational. It's a good word for me. Anyway, I am drinking ginger ale today.
Yes.
With one of my berry and mint ice cubes in it.
Oh,
like I'm all about these berry and mint ice cubes, I gotta say. Like I just love them. So yes, that's what I am drinking today. What are you drinking today?
I am going with an old faithful peach Jim Beam.
Oh, Jim Beam. Cool.
It was one of those days of running to the closet, touching up the face. I'm not thinking, what am I drinking? That just kind of like, there was a light around it. Like,
oh,
this
is
like
it shone in the cupboard.
Yes.
Like, what?
That.
Angels sang. Yeah, got it.
So
cheers. Well, okay.
Ooh, I just poured it. It needs some water.
Oh,
it needs to melt a little bit.
Yeah. So I want to talk about this clip. This I think it's like 8 minutes or something, this clip that I sent to you last week. And, it was a bit of a like smoke and mirrors because it was the title of it. I have to read it back is 70 Seconds to Your Vortex by Abraham Hicks. And we both like Abraham Hicks. And it's, something we listen to Abraham rampages to get in the mood, to get ourselves in the vortex, right? And so I saw this pop up on my Apple podcast and I'm like, oh, that is brilliant. 70 seconds. I only have to listen to 70 seconds of Abraham Hicks and poof. And so I shipped it to you before I thought anything that Abraham does is good. So I shipped it to you and I opened it up to find out it is not 70 seconds.
It is not.
That would have been fabulous, but it was 8 minutes of mind-bending complexity.
Correct.
That is what it felt like mind-bending complex. I had to like rewind, go the 10 seconds back to so many times just to get the one section. And I thought, maybe this just is not my time to understand it, to comprehend it, to really absorb it, This happened to me when I read Eckhart Tolle's book, The Power of Now. I read it the first time. And I'm telling you, I am dyslexic, so I don't typically read books, but I do like to purchase them. And sometimes I'm able to. And so I read this book. I would read a page and then go, what the fuck did he just say? Like, what? And then I would have to go back and read it again. And it was like, I felt like I needed a microscope or some dissecting tools to be able to understand it, like to really absorb it. And that's a bit how it felt when I was listening to the 70 Seconds to Your Vortex. Like I felt like I really needed some time. But then the next time I read Eckhart Tolle, I kid you not, I was reading it and totally absorbing it. It was just the right timing for my body. I was open to receiving it, because then I read it and I went, seriously, why did I not get this? Like this seems easy. How was it possible that I couldn't understand? So I feel like that's where I am at with this 70 seconds to your vortex. But there was one section in there that I hit rewind on like 5 times, but where the question to Abraham was about, he's a business coach, and he was talking about newness, the newness that they, recognizing the newness that they bring. And Abraham responded by talking about the person that they, like the person that they truly are, and then the person who they show up to be because of the frequency that they're in and what they're vibrating for.
Yeah.
And I just thought, oh, I love that so much.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was the thing that hit me, because I always talk about, it's like I love to uncover the me I came here to be.
Yeah.
And I like to uncover that with, like, that's just our life's work.
Mm-hmm.
Like, who did we come here to be? Who were we placed on this earth to be? Because that person had this like magical gifts. And then throughout life, we start to make agreements that are not ours.
Mm-hmm.
And they keep us small, and they keep us from like seeing or acknowledging or leaning into the me we came here to be. And when Abraham said that, it was just like, whoa, how perfect, because how much have I truly ever been? Like, how much more can I uncover? What does it look like when we evolve? I mean, even we're 50. And to think I'm still uncovering these layers of crap that I have decided to eat, when I was little. And then it's like, what's on the other side of that?
But not only that, but when we interact with other people, whether it's our family, whether it's our clients, whether it's our friends or strangers on the street, if we see them as who they are truly, rather than just who they're showing up being, that open up.
It's like,
how transformative could that be?
Right? Like, to see, sometimes I talk about like, person, like a person that's showing up in a response to their triggers.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like when I'm coaching clients, it's like they will talk about, oh, I did this, I did that, I did this, I did that. And they really take ownership of this, the things that they think and the things that they do and the things that they say. Like, they take such ownership, like they are that person. And I often will say, well, is that who you are, or is that just what you thought? Is it who you are, or is that just what you did? Is it who you are at the core, or is that just what you said? Or is this just a response to a trigger that was similar to a trauma, quote unquote, that you experienced, years ago? And I think too, maybe the term trauma is overused, or maybe I'm overusing it, or by me using that term, I maybe need to find another term, but by me
Maybe
using that term,
experience
possibly. But because I have gone through, and I think I talked about this on one of the podcasts, maybe even 2 of them, but like, I've gone through these moments where I have been triggered by something, and I realized the root cause, and I reacted like I would have, could have, as a 5-year-old that I experienced it. And is it a trauma, like an intense trauma, that I would think is a trauma now as a 50-year-old? No. But as a child in grade 4,
Right.
as a 5-year-old,
Mhm.
that whatever it happens to be can be super traumatic, right? So I'm choosing to use that word, but it could be like an experience that made us feel something,
Mhm.
or an experience that we avoided. In my case, it's an experience that I just said, that's not good. I'm not going to pay attention to that. And then now it comes up when I want to release it. Now I'm feeling the feelings that I should have felt in the first place,
Yeah.
which is a total mind fuck of its own.
Right. But, and that's what's so funny. We judge it, right? Why didn't I just deal with this when I
Totally.
was 5? Why? Well, you
Yeah,
couldn't. You didn't have the capability to do it.
exactly.
It doesn't matter when you
Exactly.
heal it and really recognize it and understand it. Because it's so
Mhm.
funny, because when I overreact or say something, because I'm overreacting, it's
Mhm.
not who I am. I am responding like I'm somewhere else with someone else.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
once you realize that, it's easier when you want to react that way to stop and go, okay, what's going on right here, right now?
Mhm.
What is true?
Yeah.
Did that person do this and really mean this? Is that
Mhm.
really their intent? How do I know that? And you can sort of start to talk yourself through it
Yeah.
and resolve it without flying off the handle and then going, oopsie, my bad.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And it's funny too, right? If you like, what I find so interesting as an observer of my own mind
Mhm.
is, or as an observer of my human mind almost, right? Like
Yeah.
it's almost like I can sit back and watch it and go, oh man, like, yes, I get it. This is why you're doing it. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting that that's where you would go?
Mhm.
Isn't that interesting that one thing happened? It triggered this response. Now you're acting in this way. Now you're thinking in this way. Now you're speaking in this way. Now you're behaving in this way.
Mhm.
Isn't that interesting? And
And you're
that,
feeling in this way.
oh, yes, I forgot the most important one.
Yeah.
I'm feeling in this way.
Mhm.
And when we can sit outside of that, there's freedom in it, right?
Mhm.
And I think too, because I've been able to sit outside of it, I am more able to like give you a call and go, okay, Leigh, like this is not good. Like, let's process this.
Mhm.
Because when I'm telling you something, I think I'm not owning it as me. I'm owning it as this is what I'm thinking. Let's help me tell a different story.
Mhm.
Let's change my thoughts around, right? And I really felt like I was, even if I go down the rabbit hole,
Mhm.
I know I'm going there,
Yeah.
which is different, I think, than I used to, because I used to just get so caught up in the drama, trauma, and the bullshit.
Mhm.
And it was like really hard for me to sit outside of myself.
Yeah, you were smack in the middle of it.
Right.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Yep.
So I think there's such power in that. Isn't it interesting that my human would act that way, or my brain would go there?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Let's
It's
take a look.
interesting. The week that you've had mirrors mine so much. Um, I think I was on the way to the lake when you sent me that
Vortex
that yes, that 70-second,
clip.
not 70-second clip.
Yeah,
And I
it
kept
was
hitting
it was total
repeat,
clickbait, right? It was total clickbait. I'm
but it
like,
was
ooh, 70
amazing.
seconds. Yeah.
Yeah. It was amazing, but it was not 70 seconds. But I got to the end and I'm like, well, I didn't hear anything about the 70 seconds to the vortex. Like I missed that. So let me listen to it again. So I just kept listening to it and never caught that piece, but it was moving. And then the last time I hit play on it, it said, you do not have access. And I thought, well, I
Did it?
guess I wore out my turns on it.
Oh.
But we went to the lake this weekend and had a great time. It was amazing. The kids were there. We had some friends there. It was like the perfect dryer setting, perfect weekend. I mean, it was just a good weekend. But Sunday, I woke up totally anxious. Like I could feel it all in my body, like something is not right. And I'm drinking my coffee and think I'm watching Monk. And do you watch Monk? Have you ever watched Monk?
No, I don't know what that is.
Well, detective show. It's an
Oh,
old show,
okay.
but it's sort of our Sunday show while we're waking up. But anyway, and I was just like angsty all over. And Paul's like, "What's wrong with you?" And I'm like, "My anxiety is so bad right now." And he goes, "What are you anxious about? Like, we're at the fucking lake.
Yeah.
There's water right there. Like, what is the problem?" He wasn't ugly about it. He was just asking. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't really have anything to be anxious about. So I started thinking, what are my thoughts? What am I thinking about? And then I realized what I was thinking about. I was thinking about Logan and Mona and Maria being in our friend's camper. Are they comfortable? Did they sleep well? Did they keep them up or did they keep them up? Are they upset that they're in their camper? Are they having fun on this trip? And in my head, I don't remember really thinking these thoughts, but that's what I was thinking about, like totally autopilot.
Yeah.
And then I was like, why are you responsible for everybody's comfort in the park?
Right.
And I don't remember a time that anyone sat me down and said, okay, Leigh, you are responsible for everybody's happiness. You need to make sure that everybody is satisfied in every moment or you cannot relax. But that's how I act sometimes. And it just kind of hit me smack in the face. You know, you can't think about shit like that. They are grown ass people.
Yeah.
They're going to have fun. And if they don't have fun, it is not your fault. You are not the entertainer.
Right.
And
well, I'm sure you and Paul are.
Well, we are, and we
not
are
24/7,
but not 24/7. And not with our kids and some of our best friends. Like, that's when it's responsible.
Easy. Yeah.
You just get to be. But we finished Sunday and it was fine and had some meaningful talks with Mona. And I mean, it was just a neat weekend, but get to work on Monday, put on Abraham. And, you know, because I'm trying to sort out this whole people pleasing thing and I have a problem with. And in the middle, like when Abraham, that segment's over, Dr. Joe Dispenza comes in.
Okay.
And I almost went and said, no, thank you, Joe. I'm listening to Abraham right now. But I'm like, maybe the universe is saying, hey, you might ought to listen to this. Like, here's a gift. So I listened to it. And oh my God, it was such a gift. Such a gift. He says this all the time. This is nothing new. I've heard it a million times from him. But he's like, you're either living in a vision of the future and creating that, or you're living in the past. And if you're living in the past, you're telling the same stories that you told over and over again for 20 years, for 30 years, for 40 years, or for a week. Doesn't matter. Okay. But if something happens today and I tell that story every day for 2 weeks, I become on autopilot with that. And when I get up, I start thinking about that story and replaying it. Do I want to recreate that story? Probably not.
Right.
And that's what I was going back to, this whole people pleasing thing. And it's like, that's your story that you told your whole life. You think you're some kind of people pleaser. And that is not your job. What do you want? What does your future look like? Doesn't have that in it.
Yeah. And isn't it interesting? Because I remember years and years ago, I used to really struggle with, like, I would make a mistake that, like, no one even noticed. But I would make a mistake or I would say something And I would ruminate over it. Why did I say that? Why did I say that? I shouldn't have said that. I should, oh my gosh. I wonder if they're upset, and I wonder how they took it, and what, what am I going to do? Should I phone them right now? Should I phone them later? Should I speak to them in person? Like, how am I going to fix this? What is she going to think of me? And what are they going to think, that I meant by that? And like, I would ruminate over it so much that it ruined my present. And what was I doing? I was taking a situation that I didn't like, and I brought it with me.
Yes.
I extended it by
You
days.
made it bigger.
I extended it by days, right? Or weeks or whatever, even though it was like one tiny little thing.
Yeah.
No one remembers.
Yeah.
I remember I was at a regional conference as a parole officer, and we were there was this infamous FBI profiler was there, and there was hundreds of people in this conference, and he was talking about serial killers, and like super interesting.
Oh yeah.
And I had a question and I raised my hand. I'm not afraid to raise my hand in a group of 500 people ask a question. So I raised my hand, and he didn't call on me. And then he kind of just shifted the topic, right? Like he just moved the topic on. So, okay, no big deal. I put my hand down. Like it wasn't a burning question that I needed for a final exam. Like, I mean, it was just an interesting question. I could go and ask him at lunch or whatever. So my friend puts her hand up and says, "Excuse me, we have a question here." Instant panic. Because I don't remember what my question was. I mean, it was just gone because he shifted the topic, and then I couldn't remember. And so he goes, "Yes." I'm like, oh no, now I don't want to make her look bad by saying, no, it's okay. I should have, because instead I made myself look bad. And I kind of fumble through the question, and he does not know where I'm going. And nor does anyone else, because I didn't make it clear, because I didn't know where I was going. Like I really did not speak well in that moment. And I beat myself up for that for years. I swear it. I haven't worked for corrections in, 14 years. No one knows my name.
Right.
Who cares? No one even cared.
No one probably even remembers.
They might have known what I was trying to say. I mean, I don't know. But wow, did I ever ruminate on it?
Yeah.
Like what? And really, just when you were speaking in that moment, just like, you're living in the past, or telling a story in the future, or telling a story in the past? Like I told that story. I held the vibration and the frequency of the shame that I placed on myself. And we know when there's an emotion, that's how we're vibing. That's what we're sending out to the universe, like a big bat signal of crap.
And getting back.
Yes. And that's what we're getting back. I'm surprised I didn't do something stupid on stage again. Like, say something in a National Parole Board hearing. I don't know.
Right.
I mean, but I carried that. And if I tell the story now, it's neutral, but I can put myself there. I can put myself in the feeling of it, but I've done so many other things online that it just doesn't matter. Like I just see how it doesn't matter, my logical brain.
Yeah.
But I'm still getting that trigger. And I think because I locked it in for so long with this story, right?
And your focus on it.
Totally.
No, I will have things that it's like, I feel like I've healed most of the big things. But I'll have little things that I've said, a remark I made, a way I felt about something that someone was doing, that they weren't really doing anything wrong. It was just me being a bitch, and guilt from that. And so things like that will pop up, and it will like make me twinge a little bit, like, oh, that hurts.
Yeah.
and brings me back to that moment in that space. And it's like, if you treated every moment like this moment right here, and
Right.
would stop before you act, stop before
Yeah.
you even think, like if the
Right.
feeling about, and
Yeah.
soften it,
Yes.
you wouldn't have these kind of regrets.
Well, and exactly. I don't know if you follow Brooke Castillo,
Mm-mm.
the life coach school. I love her. And she talks
Is
about
she
her
like
self-coaching.
blonde, short blonde
Yes.
hair? Okay.
Yes, yes, yes. So she has her self-coaching model. And she talks about this model of how a circumstance leads to a thought about the
Mm-hmm.
circumstance.
Yeah.
And the thought that you have leads to an emotion.
Mm-hmm.
The emotion leads to action, and the action leads to the result.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, the whole goal is to stop at the thought.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're going to have a circumstance and you're going to have a thought about it. It would be great if everything was neutral, but it's not.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times we can't stay in neutral.
Right.
So we make it mean something. There's a circumstance, we make it mean something. We have a thought. The problem is where the thought becomes a feeling, and the feeling is something you don't want to feel.
And you make it mean something.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's like now all of a sudden, you've created this compound effect. And then the worst case scenario is if you feel guilty for feeling it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, like, you're stuck there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so really, I mean, it really puts it in perspective for me. And I really try to think in terms of that. It's like, there's a circumstance and I have a thought about the circumstance. Can I, and maybe it's for good too, right? Like I can use it for good. So
Mm-hmm.
there's a circumstance that happens. I think something and I make it mean something. I give it meaning. And then I have a good feeling about it, a good vibration about it. And then I take another action towards my dream. And then the result is that I'm going to have the dream,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm going to achieve it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Or the polar fucking opposite, when everything goes to crap.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a circumstance, you make it mean something awful, you feel awful about it, then you feel awful for feeling it. And then all of a sudden you take action, which is not the action that you want, because behaviors just come from,
Yeah.
our subconscious beliefs and all that stuff. And so then you take action and you're going away. You're rowing your boat away from
Mm-hmm.
where you want to go.
Yeah.
And then the result is you're
Mm-hmm. But when
up
we
the creek without a paddle.
learn to stop in the moment
Mm-hmm.
and say, like like I had a patient that broke up with me,
Oh.
and I loved her. And I mean, I thought we had this great thing, and we were talking, and I said a phrase that she took to be racist.
Oh dear.
And she's like, well, what does that mean? And I was like, oh, it's someone from Louisiana. I said, now that you say that, I don't know that I've ever looked it up. I said, but that's just what we call my sister-in-law. It's a term of endearment, but maybe I should really rethink what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And I did feel bad because I thought, man, I don't want to offend anybody. And that certainly wasn't my intent. Well, she left. And then she texted me the next morning. I was on my way to an ambassador meeting. And I get to the meeting and she's like, I just wanted to cancel my appointments going forward. Thank you. And that was all she said.
Oh no.
And my heart sank. I wanted to call her. I wanted to fix it.
Yes.
And then it was like, stop. Did you do anything wrong? No, not intentionally. Did you apologize and try to share your point of view with her? Yes.
Yeah.
Let her be.
Did you, and you went out of your way to say, you know what? Let me rethink that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let me rethink that. Let me look. Let me do some learning. Like maybe it is something that I did not know the meaning for, because we can't know everything. I mean,
Right.
we try to be as aware as possible, but some
Mhm.
things,
Yeah.
we
We're
don't
gonna say,
question.
mhm.
Yeah.
And I let it go. And there were
Mhm.
times that my heart, and it's like, it's not yours to fix. Like
Yeah.
that's where she is in her journey. And if she found offense with that, that is okay.
Yeah.
But let her figure it out. You don't have to whoosh in and
Fix it.
try. Mhm.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but when
Wow.
we learn to stop ourselves, because that could have spun me out.
Oh, for sure. Yep.
That could, I could have, I'm horrible and it could have been
Hmm.
a whole different, and then it was like, it's not yours. That's about her.
Right. Yeah.
So, and she had gone to a surgeon. She was trying to find someone to do some work on her. And one of the ones that she went to, she got his name from our office.
Oh.
And she's texting me going, I'm here with him and he is crazy.
Oh
And
no.
I was like, yeah, but he's an artist. Like he's a different kind of guy, but
Hmm.
he's an artist. And then she came to see me later and she's like, he's racist and he's sexist. And I was not
Oh.
going to give him my money, no matter what kind of an artist he was. And so this was the second racist
Mm-hmm.
thing, and so it was like, that's just, she's working through that right now.
Yeah.
I don't need to beat myself up and feel terrible and ruin my
Yeah.
days. But when
Right.
we approach all situations, it's tough sometimes in the moment, but if we can stop before
Hmm.
it gets out of hand and before
Exactly.
we're ruminating for days.
Yes, exactly.
Mhm.
And that's the thing, right? It's like our human nature. Our mind is going to go there probably. So the goal is
Mhm.
to try to stop it, or have it have us veer off track less often
Yeah.
and for shorter periods of time
I don't think we
without
ever
judging
stop.
ourselves.
I don't think we ever stop veering. I think that is a
Yeah.
natural response.
Yeah,
It's
for sure.
catching ourselves and, oh, don't want to be here. Let's come back over here
As quickly as
as
possible,
quickly
as
as
often
possible.
as possible.
Mhm.
Exactly, because and without judgment that
Yeah.
we felt it or we thought
Oh,
something,
no.
like I'm doing this training right now, and it's, some of the women are messaging me and it's like, oh man, I've had such crappy money beliefs, and I've thought this for so long and I can't believe I've held myself back for so long. And it's just like, oh, but look at what you've just learned.
Mhm. Yeah.
Like, we can't go back in time and try to, like bring that.
Right.
All we're doing, really, we're back to Joe Dispenza, but all we're doing is, if we feel guilt or shame or embarrassment or whatever it is about what we've done in the past, we're just bringing it into the future,
Yeah. We're just living in the past.
just living in the past.
Yeah.
So,
We don't live there
uh,
anymore. Let it
we
go.
we do not.
But
So
sometimes
we
we do
try
have
not
to
to.
pick some things up and look, but just
Exactly.
don't look too long. Heal it,
Right.
love it, say, I'll see you later, and get on to doing what you want to do.
Our really good friend, he said this to me one time. I love quotes that people have said to me.
Mhm.
And he said, Sandra, it's okay to feel the way you're feeling.
Mhm.
It's not okay to stay there.
Yeah.
And that was so freeing to me in the moment, because I had just been, just like ruminating over a mistake, and like, just like I kept, I felt so bad for it. And it was like, oh, you're right. It's not okay to stay there.
Mhm.
And then I was able to shift and start to really heal from it.
Yeah. And
Because
sometimes we're quick to get out and it's nope, not going down that road. And sometimes it's like, I'm going to sit in this for a minute.
yeah,
And I might sit in it for a day
yeah,
or 2 days. And then it's like, okay, do you really want to stay? Like, hasn't it been long enough?
Right.
Haven't you
I
tortured
know.
yourself long enough?
And that's what it's about, right?
Yeah.
Feeling the need to feel bad
Mhm.
because you deserve it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we are so out of time.
Oh, we are.
Like, I mean, we're just 4 minutes over, but good grief.
Okay.
It
I
felt
know.
like we just started
Time passed so
talking.
fast. I know.
Oh, thank you,
I'm
Sandra.
excited for next week.
I know.
Thank you so much.
Great day. Thank you guys for joining us on the happy hour. We will see you next Thursday. Bye.
Bye.